Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel, all my friends and family out there. Today I have joining me my wife Lynn. We've been married for 32 years and we have a lot of life experiences that we like to share about ourselves and our journey through addiction with our son. And we are going to be doing a mini series, the 6 stages of grief, which would be shock, denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. So the definition of shock is a sudden, upsetting, or surprising event or experience, which actually covers a lot. What we're going to be doing today also is I just want to, we're not getting paid for this or anything else. We found a really good book out there, and here it is, to give credit to the author. It's an awesome book and I really recommend it for people going through grief. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let Lynn speak first, and then we'll go from there.
Hi everyone, I'm Lynn, and I'm going to talk about the shock of finding my son dead in his apartment, and talk a little bit about how that experience has shifted and changed my life forever. For me, shock is... One minute. For me, shock is sort of like a temporary anesthesia, and that is referenced in this book that we just showed you. And I remember when I walked into the apartment and the windows were broken and everything, and I thought something was wrong, and I went into his apartment and he was lying on the floor, and I thought he was just like sleeping, or I don't know what I thought. So when I leaned down to touch him, he was really stiff, and he was already been dead for quite a few hours, maybe days, 24 hours, days. And I kneeled down on the ground next to him, and I tried shaking him, even though I knew that that wasn't going to do anything. So I was shaking him, and he wasn't moving. And he, like I said, he was stiff already, he was cold, and he was not completely dressed. And so he had a robe on, and so I leaned down and I just started shaking him and calling out his name and trying to wake him, even though inside I knew that he was dead, that he was no longer here. But I still was trying to wake him. And I stayed with him, and I leaned down on the floor, and I just put my arms around him, and I just talked to him even though I knew he was gone. Maybe it was me talking to God, maybe it was just me talking to him. And that was an experience that I will never, I believe, not be in shock by. The stages of grief are not always in order, and they go in and out at different times. I can be in denial one day, and an hour later I am in shock still. Or the next day I could be having a really good day, and all of a sudden I get very panicky, and that is a signal for me that I'm going to cry. For me, crying has been very healing. It's uncomfortable, but it's healing for me. And I just want to say to people that are maybe in this situation too, that there are ways to cope, and there are ways to get through situations like this. For me, it's going to be a long, long time to work through, and maybe never sort of leave my mind. And that memory plays on a loop, and it just keeps playing and playing and playing. And I remember when I was laying on the ground with him, my husband had come home, and he came back, and he was in shock too, and he lifted me up, and I wanted to stay with him. I wanted to stay with him as long as possible. And they wouldn't let me because they needed, detectives came and the ambulances came and all of that stuff. And they had to do a whole investigation, and it was really traumatic. And I believe for me that I have PTSD.